Hello angelfish! So today we're going to be doing a video about bullet journaling. I'm going to cover the introductory kind of basics of it as well as talk to you a little bit about why I got into bullet journaling. So what is bullet journaling? It's where you can write down your schedule, track your tasks, and organize things that you want to accomplish throughout the day or the next series of days. Bullet journaling was invented by Ryder Carroll. It's also known as Boho for short, or in some cases it's also called dot journaling because I believe bullet journaling is technically copyrighted, so if people want to publish their own works about bullet journaling, they call it dot journaling instead. And this comes from the fact that most journals that people choose to bullet journal in are made with a dot grid. Bullet journaling gets its name from the bullet points you use in order to mark your tasks. Pretty simple, right? The idea behind bullet journaling was to simplify all of the tasks and things that Ryder Carroll needed to get done in a day and have it all organized in one space, instead of having multiple books and sticky notes here or there. He also knew the importance of writing things down instead of just doing stuff digitally. Now, he's not against digital work, as he states in his book, which I highly recommend, even if you've been bullet journaling for a long time. He actually works on productivity apps and other digital apps, but there's something about writing what you need to do down that gives you that quiet time and that moment to really connect with what it is you need to do. It's that time between getting it from your head to the page in front of you. He does talk about this in his book as well and all the scientific research behind it. So before I get into how to bullet journal, I'm going to share my story about how I came to bullet journaling. So back in 2016, I was looking for a way to be more creative in my life. I had gone through different types of art schools, and while they all had their creative avenues, it was more about learning what they wanted you to know versus doing what you wanted to do. And also learning the process versus the product, right? So I just didn't feel like I had very many creative outlets for myself at that time. And I was a little burnt on sketchbooks because I had to do so many of them. I also wanted a way to organize my time and my tasks and to see why I wasn't getting things done that I wanted to do and stuff that I felt was important. So I looked up kind of planners, and I started with like a happy planner, I believe it was. It had some rings, and I remember the color was robin egg blue because it was a little difficult to find in my area, and when I found it I was very happy. So I tried that for a while and I made my own little hole punch sheets, but I still felt very limited. It was still like everything was drawn out for me. It kind of reminded me of when I was in school and everything was just done. So I went back to the internet and started to look around more for things I could do to improve my journal. And that's when I found about bullet journaling. And I believe the first blog that I really came across was Boho berries. And I was just completely enamored by it, and I put bullet journaling into the Pinterest search, and boom, it's all history from there. I went through the photos on Pinterest and studied what people were doing in their bullet journals for about a month before I started my first one. And then in July of 2016, I finally bit the bullet and just did it. I had everything set up, and I was very nervous. I didn't know if I was doing anything right. I didn't know does this look good? And it took me about a week, 2 weeks before I realized it doesn't matter if it looks good to anybody else but me because it's for me. Nobody's gonna see my bullet journal unless I decide to share it. So with that pressure off, I began to experiment with different layouts, different things I liked, adding colors, using stamps, as well as my own little drawings, and I just had more fun with it, and I've been doing it ever since. Now, I will be sharing some of my bullet journal flip-throughs that I've done previously. They're currently on my other channel at the time of filming this, but I am going to port them over. So, I guess repost them, something like that. So I don't think it's quite porting if it's mine and I'm just moving it, but it might take a little bit to do. I have to find the original files and put everything back together, or at least find the one and explain why there's suddenly a mermaid watermark on my videos. So what goes into a bullet journal? Well, that's completely up to you. Traditionally, you start with a name page, an index, a future log, your month log, and then your daily log. There are also different collections you can add and habit trackers. Now, the order you put stuff in can vary, and it is, as I said, completely up to you. I will be showing you how I set up my bullet journal, and in that way you can get an idea of how somebody does it. I will preface this section of the video by stating that everybody does their bullet journal differently. So you will see people online posting their bullet journals and be like, oh, this is my bullet journal, but I do it differently because X, Y, and Z. Well, yes, everybody does their bullet journal differently. Even people who follow the exact method that Ryder Carroll does and are minimalistic do it differently. And that's the beauty of bullet journaling. It's completely adaptable to what you need. And what your neighbor might need in their bullet journal is going to be completely different. And that's fine. It's going to work for both of you. So traditionally, what comes first in your bullet journal is called a name page. Name page is where you write your name. It's also where you write down some contact information in case your journal ever gets lost. Now, what you write there is totally up to you. You might be in a smallish town or something, or a place where you feel more secure writing your full address or phone number so that people who find it can bring your journal back to you and contact you. If you live in an area that may not be quite as safe, or maybe a really big city, you can put down your email address or still your cell phone number or home number, so that way if somebody does find it, there is a way for it to get back to you. Now, some people do put rewards down. They will be like, if found, please return to blank, and the reward is blank. Now, oftentimes, in journals that have it printed and the namespace ready for you, it'll have like a little $ for a monetary reward. And that's fine. You can offer money in exchange for your journal back if you like. Other people, though, are more akin to giving something in return. That's not money. So I think it was Boho that said in her bullet journal, she writes like, I will gift you a freshly made plate of chocolate chip cookies or something. So I think that's a little nicer than, you know, just $5 or whatever. And I think in part because if you just put a dollar value to it, if it's not something like high enough that the person who finds it is gonna like want to trouble themselves with, they may not do it. I think, though, it would be a little harder to resist maybe a plate of cookies. And I don't mean just because, yay, cookies, but I think the sentiment is different when you offer something homemade versus money. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So after the name page usually comes the index. The index is what you can think of as like a table of contents rather than like an index you would find in a book. Mostly because the index is usually at the end of the book and the table of contents is at the beginning, and you get the idea. So the index is roughly 3 pages that you leave blank. And you leave these pages blank because you're going to fill them in later. So, for example, if you start your bullet journal, let's say on page 4, because you've left 3 blank pages, then it would be like year log, page 4, and you're going to write that out in your bullet journal. Now, some bullet journals do have their index spaces pre-printed for them. Now, the Leutram 1917, which is the one that I recommend completely, already has 3 pages ready for you. There's lines for you to put in what page is what, and then the page number next to it. Something else I do like about the Leutram as well is the pages are already numbered. You don't have to go through and write all the numbers down as you go. That just saves a little bit of time and keeps things nice and neat, and I appreciate that about the journal. So the key is the next page. A key is where you keep all the symbols that you're going to use for your journal. Now, when Ryder Carroll started this, his task was the symbol of a square, so that way when you were done, you just filled in the square. I still use that to this day, so you will see me using squares and similar symbols like that when I do my bullet journaling. However, Ryder Carroll has started a new type of bullets for his bullet journaling. I believe he refers to it as rapid journaling. And so instead of filling in the squares, you are just doing a bullet point. And then that bullet point will be crossed off or indicated somehow that you have completed that task. You can use whatever symbols that you like and whatever symbols you want, so long as you remain consistent. Some people use their bullets in the shape of hearts or other things like stars, whereas usually that would indicate like something inspirational or a great idea. As long as you're consistent, that's what matters. Now, I personally don't have a key page. What I've done is I put an insert in my journal, and I'll show you a video of that here on the screen now. So what I do is I do make a key on a separate piece of paper, but then I use other paper that seems to match the bullet journal color that I have or the theme I'm going for, and I create kind of a little pamphlet inside. So that way when I open my book to any page, I can still see my key off to the left-hand side. Now, I don't really use it often because I know what my keys are. I've been doing this long enough that I have everything memorized, including colors that I use for things. But I still include it in my journals, including the next one I'm about to do, mostly for the tradition of it and for future readers, because I kind of do expect that my descendants will be finding these journals and going through them, so it's kind of more for them than for me at the moment. The future log comes after the key, and this is also sometimes called a year at a glance. And what this is quite literally the next full year from when you're starting written out. Now, before I mentioned that I started my first bullet journal in July, so I did my year at a glance going from July of 2016 to the next July. Actually, I think it was till June. But anyways, you get the idea. So now I have a system set up where I can fit a full year into one bullet journal, and I just put the next year coming up right there, and it's very convenient for me. In my old journals, I used to color code days that were important that were coming up, such as birthdays, holidays, things like that. And I'm probably going to do that again in my next bullet journal. I didn't do it this year, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think I just ran out of time, and then it was one of those things that just slipped my mind and it wasn't quite as important. But there's some holidays and stuff that I really want to make sure that I am going to celebrate next year, so I might be doing that just so that I have that reference of, oh, this holiday's coming up, I better get ready for it. Now, traditionally in the Ryder Carroll journal, what comes after the future log is going to be your month log. I do it slightly differently, like everybody else does. But I'm going to go through these pages in his order, and then you can see the stuff out of order in my videos as I set up my journals. The monthly log, or month at a glance, or however you wish to call it, is 1 to 2 pages, so either one page or a full spread, that has the next month depicted on it and laid out for you to know what's coming up. You can draw this out as a calendar spread. You can just do a list of the days. It's up to you completely. I'm going to reiterate that, like, it is all up to you. For me, I do the spread of a month, and then I have a list on the side that says tasks that I need to get completed during that month. It doesn't quite matter when it happens during that month, as long as it happens, such as like a bill that you have to pay, or maybe making sure that something happens that you need to get done, finishing a gift, crocheting something. It's just whatever you need to get done during that month that is not on a specific day is listed there. I also use this page to do like little illustrations, and I would go crazy with tiny stickers and just having fun and making it like explode with color. So you will see that in my videos too. Now, the daily or weekly log, or daily spread, or weekly spread, it has so many names, is kind of akin to what you would find in a typical planner. So as the name suggests, you are focusing primarily on one day at a time. Now some people do set up their bullet journals so that they have multiple days on a spread. Some people set it up so that one page is a day. Again, up to you. Now some people don't plan their days too far ahead because they're not sure how much space they're going to use in their journal. Other people have everything spaced out to a T. I'm one of those people. I do have a measurement that I use for boxes in my bullet journal, and then I know how many boxes I can fit per spread, and then how many boxes I need per month, and how many, you can see where I'm going with this. So that's how I managed to get a full year in my bullet journal. Now, of course, there's extra pages for fun things and trackers and pictures and all that stuff too. But I do manage to get a full year in my bullet journal, and that makes me happy because then I don't have to worry about migrating into a new journal halfway through the year, and I can save the migration for one giant, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm running out of time at the end of each year. So you might have heard me mention something about trackers. Now, trackers are something you will see in bullet journaling, with the two most common being mood and habit. Now, mood trackers can be beneficial for people who need to regulate their mood via medications or have to keep track of things like that and speak with their doctors. And so you'll see charts where it's like, this is a good day, this is a bad day. You know, I was really anxious today, I had depression this day. And other people track their mood because it's another excuse to have a beautifully decorated page with all sorts of fun colors and illustrations. It's completely up to you. Now, habit trackers are a little more, not necessarily complicated, but involved. So a habit tracker is kind of like a mood tracker, but instead of saying, how did I feel today? How was my mood? You're making sure you get things done that you want to become habits. So some things you might find on a habit tracker include meditation, dental care, making sure you have all of your water intake for that day, things of that nature. Other things that you can track include, but are not limited to, fertility days, weight loss, your health, etc., etc. Collections are things you add to your bullet journal that you need or want. Technically, a tracker is a kind of collection, but usually when people talk about collections, they're talking about pages that hold lists of books that they want to read through the year, with a way for them to check them off once they've completed that, or video games that they've beaten, or waterfalls they might have been able to hike to. It just depends on their activities and what they're interested in tracking or collecting. See, they're pretty much similar. Some people do consider the journaling part of your bullet journal to be like another collection, but I kind of categorize it as something different. So the actual journaling part or diary part of your bullet journal is sometimes referred to as a brain dump. Now, brain dump pages are more like a single page here and there throughout your bullet journal where you are just getting everything out of your head. The good, the bad, the ugly. If it's in there, you're just dumping it on the page. And this can be therapeutic for you by just getting rid of that negativity that might be festering in your mind from the day, or, you know, it could help you go through your thoughts and organize them better, and then maybe see something that you didn't quite get earlier, some insight into the situation that you were unaware of. I used to keep one page for a brain dump at the end of every monthly spread that I had. Now, I didn't always fill in that page during that month, so I would have bits of the next month on that page in the previous month's section. So after a while, I just decided to randomly plop in my brain dump pages, and whatever was written was written. It happened during the course of the bullet journal. That's all that was important to me. So this year, I tried something new, and I do quite like it. So I sectioned off journaling pages towards the back of my bullet journal where I could just keep 24 pages ready to go. That's about 2 pages per month. And I would color code it so I knew what I was writing at what time of the year. I really like how this came out, and sometimes I do use more than 2 pages for a month, and sometimes I use a lot less, so it just varies, but I think 24 turned out to be a good number, and I already have that all sectioned out for my next journal. I do find it more beneficial to keep all the journaling pages together, mostly because I do use my bullet journal at work as a teaching tool for other people, so this way I can clip the journal portion together and keep that part of my life private. So those are the basics about what goes into a bullet journal. I will have more videos up later about like creating your bullet journal, some of the products I like to use, and all the more fun things that make bullet journaling, well, fun. I am going to show you my journal that I have that I would recommend to other people getting. So this is called a Leutram 1917. It is hardbound. It does have a strap here so you can help keep the book closed. People who do bullet journaling know that the book tends to get a little thick. That is with 3 C's. But anyways, the journal tends to get a bit thick with paper and stuff as you collect it and write in it, so the band will help keep it closed. It has 2 bookmarks here, and they do come in a variety of colors, which pretty much any favorite color you have, it will come in. The pages are like a nice cream color. This color is called Pacific, and I believe it is a new one. Their format inside has changed slightly, so if you get a different color, the format may look a little different. Leutram also does make a journal specifically, I believe it says bullet journaling on it, made for bullet journalists, but I really like this version better, so I just keep using that, but you use what you like and you do you, right? So the color is like a creamy color page here. Here is your name page, so you can kind of see this is where you would write all that information out. Now, I do have my index filled out because, like I said, I plan out my year. So I do have my index filled in already. Let's see here. I believe this one actually only had 2 pages instead of 3. However, this page is blank. So if you needed to do another index page, you could totally make it fit. Now, that being said, I did manage to fit all of my year stuff into this journal. Some of it's still penciled in because I was figuring out the little bits here and there, but it's pretty much ready to be inked or, you know, set in stone in terms of bullet journaling, right? So another thing that I do like about the Leutram is that no matter where you open it to, it will lay flat. So if I had this on a table, I could turn it to any page and it will be flat. And that's really helpful when you're doing spreads and you're writing things down and illustrating. It just not to have to worry about the spine like creaking and going all sorts of different directions. It's very helpful. There is also an internal pocket here at the back, so you can store little things that you get, little mementos, concert tickets, photographs, different types of things like that. As I mentioned before, all the pages are pre-numbered. Let's see if we can get that there. Oh, it's not going to focus, but that blurb was page 203. It is a dot grid, and it is printed in kind of a light gray. And what I do like about that is that when you write on it, the dot grid kind of seems to vanish. It's not... it doesn't compete visually with whatever you're writing, and so it's a nice way to organize things and to make sure that your lines are straight without there having to be a heavy grid that can distract the viewer, mainly you, from what you've put on your paper. Now, there are companies that do make bullet journals very similar to this, or dot journals. One of them being Artist Loft. I have seen ones at Walmart that also have a dot grid. Those dots aren't as light, so they aren't my favorite. I do understand though that not everybody can afford a Leutram. These are about $20 a piece, and I believe sometimes they're cheaper on Amazon. There's a local store that sells them here where you can get them on sale for sometimes as low as $15 to $12, around there. But since I only use one bullet journal a year, I'm willing to splurge on the $20 price tag. one of the main reasons I'm willing to splurge, other than all the things I've mentioned before, is how the dot grid is laid out. If you open this page and you do, let's say, a monthly spread, and you need to go across both pages here, the dots on this side are going to line up perfectly with the dots on this side. I don't know if I can get this up close enough at the moment for you to see, so I'll probably just insert a video showing you what I mean. Now, if you don't do spreads that include both pages, I don't think it matters which journal you get. You can get the cheaper one and you're gonna be fine. If you do journals that do have spreads across both pages, I would recommend getting this, because then you're not going to end up with a line that starts like this on one page and then either has to jump up or down because the grid doesn't match on the pages. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me know that this is the kind of content you do want to see on my page. It would also be helpful if you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you know when more bullet journaling videos come out. I also do art videos, and I'm working on getting some of those done. Now, unfortunately, I do have a house guest coming. Unfortunately, that sounds kind of rude. I don't mean it's unfortunate that I have a house guest coming. What's unfortunate is that I have to move my recording studio. So it's kind of in a public space, and with a house guest, it's not going to be quite feasible to have it there. So my recordings are probably going to look a little different for about 6 weeks. Yay! And it might also be a little more difficult to record. However, I am going to attempt to stick to my uploading schedule of every Tuesday and Saturday. And with videos like the other bullet journaling flip-throughs kind of ported over, I don't think those will count against like my schedule, but we'll see, right? Feel free to leave a comment below with stuff that you want to see here. Like, do you want to see more bullet journaling stuff, and what kind of bullet journaling things do you want to see? Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.